the first thing is the school has to adapt to the kids' culture. And that adaptation is really about a validation affirmation around a behavior that, this is the key point, that has been historically seen as negative, wrong, unacceptable. That's the key part. So that's where the change in school, that's the change for the school culture, which people don't want to acknowledge, who are trying to twist the information. So the fact that the school is willing to validate and affirm these traditionally marginalized behaviors is a change for a school. At the same time, we want students to be able to adapt to whatever the cultural situation is. It's really not about school, it's about in a professional setting in terms of job. It's about when you're with family, right? So it's really, the definition in its purest form is, what is the most appropriate cultural and linguistic behavior for the situation, right? That's really what it is. And the student or the learner has to make that determination and hopefully have the skill set to perform the culture, perform the language. The big difference that's not acknowledged here is, though, we're saying as school in particular, you have to be validated and affirmed. That is what enables a buy-in to the adaptation at school. Without the validation affirmation, then it's not considered valid. It's not considered cultural in terms of its responsiveness. The difference between race and culture is best explained by looking at a situation that is racially homogeneous, right? So we can point to some maybe West African countries, some maybe Asian countries that are pretty much racially homogeneous, and then talk about what makes them different. And when you begin to talk about those differences, now you're talking about culture. And that best explains the difference between race and culture. Race is how do I want to put this? Race is story of human geography. That's what I was looking for. It's a story of human geography. It simply tells a story of how humans have walked around the world, but it doesn't tell you anything about them in terms of their cultural dynamics as they walked around the world. Race is something that has been used to disenfranchise folks, enslave folks, right? So we know in that context, that's the social construction of it, to be used against folks. Where I think that's the case with culture as well, but we don't recognize it as that because it's conflated with race.